Hi everyone, for those that don't know me, I'm Dean Drury, I'm the chair of Exeter City Swimming Club. Just starting to introduce this video really, and it's basically a video that's going to explain how we can return to the pool now that we've been given the green light from the government that we can return to the pool and swimming training rather than just land training as of the 25th of July this year. So we've obviously been through a really tough time as a club, but also individually, and I'm completely aware that many of you will have been through difficult periods both personally and with your businesses and work, etc. So I do appreciate everyone's understanding. We've tried to make it as easy as possible in terms of any financial burden that you've got currently ongoing in your own lives by reducing the fees, as you're aware, down to the membership fee only and stop the training fees. So this video is basically to talk about how we're going to return to the pool, what that will look like, the safety measures that are in place, but also what we're going to do around training fees, etc. So firstly, I'd just like to thank all of you for your patience and understanding while we've gone through this period. But also to thank members of both our coaching team and our committee who've worked tirelessly through this difficult period in ensuring that the club is both sustainable and that we've been able to provide you with as much training that we've been physically able to via our Zoom sessions and the land training sessions here at Cliff St Mary to enable the swimmers to have as much engagement with the club as we possibly can. So I won't steal Joe's thunder. Joe John is going to talk to you about how returning to the pool will look like, what it will look like, and how we'll go about it. But I just wanted to make mention of the fact that from the 1st of August, we will be reintroducing the training fee to run alongside the membership fee that we're currently charging. Now this has been discussed at committee level, and our treasurer Samantha Allen has worked absolutely like a Trojan through this difficult time to ensure that the club is sustainable and that we are on a sound financial footing when there are other swimming clubs that are teetering on the edge of potential financial ruin as a result of the situation we've in. Samantha Allen has worked really hard in ensuring that we are sustainable, but also bearing in mind that other people are going through difficulties when it comes to finances, which is why we were unable to maintain the club on a sound footing in terms of making sure that we break even through this time. But we are aware that we're going to have increasing costs when we return to the pool. To enable us to be able to meet those costs and to ensure that we can continue to be sustainable into the future, we will be introducing the training fee from the 1st of August. So all that leaves me to say is thank you very much to everyone for all your patience. We are really pleased we can get back in the pool. It will look different. It will take us time to get back to what we were used to. It will also take the swimmers time to get back to that level that they were at before we all stopped. So it's just really to reiterate that it's a continuation of a COVID situation. It's a continuation of us being patient and allowing things to happen naturally and as and when we get further guidance from both Swim England and the government. But ultimately, it's great news that we are back in the pool, and I'll hand you over to Joe John. Thank you.
We're all very keen to get back into the pool. However, before we do, it is important that swimmers, parents and guardians understand that our return to the pool is going to look quite different than it did when many of you had your last club swim during the week of the 16th of March. Therefore, it's imperative that you understand the messages from this and also read all of the information that we send you regarding our return to the pool. As I'm sure you can imagine, there's a huge amount of work to be completed to enable us to get back into all of our pools safely. And as you are aware, some will not be opening immediately. Therefore, we're also trying to be creative about how we use the pool time that we have. There will be and has to be a very gradual build back to training in the pool. We've all had an unprecedented period of time out of the pool, and although we've been working on fitness via the land training sessions that we've done, it's a very different requirement once we get back to swimming with different repetitions on joints and muscles. So this is a great opportunity for the coaches to be working on skills and ensure that the right technique is in place so that repetition of bad habits doesn't happen. Therefore, you've got less chance of injury and ultimately what we all want, a faster swimmer. If you're putting the body under more stress, there is a chance that you suppress the immune system. So with our swimmers, when they're swimming at high intensity and they're doing the distance, they're always just on that little bit of the edge of suppressing their immune system. And I understand that the ages of the majority of the swimmers that we have, generally this isn't too much of an issue in terms of COVID-19. However, the risks associated are then with wider families and taking the illness back, and also to our pool staff, our coaches, and the staff at the various centres that we use. So our return to the pool is going to be exactly the same protocol that all the British swimming senior swimmers have used as they've gone back over recent weeks, and we'll be doing the same in the pool regarding skills and drills as they have been. It's very unlikely that there will be any competitions before the end of the year, so there's going to be no requirement to push the swimmer too quickly, and coaches, as I said, can concentrate on making sure skills are in place, and we've got a gradual increase in volume and intensity. Coaches will constantly observe and monitor this and make sure that it's a gradual increase as they can see the swimmers are going to be able to cope with it and deal with it. This does mean initially that there is going to be a minimal fitness gain from what we do in the water, and therefore it's going to be crucial that we continue with land training at the level that we've been doing it. If we don't, then the swimmers will go through a detraining effect and will actually lose fitness. So we're going to still continue with face-to-face land training, Zoom sessions, and we'll be sending out sessions for the swimmers to do in their own time. And as I said, that is going to be really crucial to them maintaining fitness, and also, as I've already talked about, with injuries and immune system, etc., to ensure that's all okay. We won't be operating the previous squad structure as you know it. We're going to have a certain amount of swimmers that are invited to specific sessions, and those sessions and the group that are invited will be dependent on the requirements of that individual. They will be grouped with swimmers of a similar ability that require a similar amount of pool hours. So if a swimmer is training with others that were previously in a different squad, it doesn't mean that that swimmer is either moved up or down a squad, but we've put them in the most appropriate place in line with the information that you've given us around your availability to attend sessions at certain venues. Swimmers will be invited to certain sessions. If they're unable to attend those sessions, they must let us know as soon as possible, and we will attempt to move things around if we can. A swimmer cannot opt in and out of a session. They can only attend a session to which they have been invited. If they turn up at a session to which they've not been invited, they will be turned away. Every club has had to appoint a COVID-19 officer, and for that is Gordon Ray. Gordon has been and will continue to liaise with all of the pool providers to ensure that we adhere to the health and safety guidelines laid down for all of our benefits. He'll be writing risk assessments for each pool, which you will be made aware of, and we ask that you observe these rules without question. Any swimmer, parent or guardian who chooses not to do so will be asked to leave the session immediately and perhaps not return to the club. We cannot put others at risk during this time or be seen by pool operators to not adhere to the very important guidelines that they have set down for us. Please ensure that you're aware of the guidelines and restrictions within the facilities that you or your children will be using. And we're unable to go into specific details of these at the moment as we're still liaising with those, but we will be doing presentations on each one and making sure that those are sent to you prior to your attendance. Although Gordon is not going to be able to go into the very specific details at the moment, he will explain more about his role and what the implications are for all of us when we go back to training. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, hi, I'm Gordon Ray. As Joe's already mentioned, I am the club's COVID lead for the return to the pool. Basically, there will be two roles in relation to the COVID-19 return to the pool. I have the lead, and then there will be a number of people who we will be actively recruiting from here on in until we get back in the pool, who will be the COVID-19 liaison, and their job is just basically to be my eyes and ears at every session, because obviously once we get moving and we at different pools, I won't necessarily be able to be at every single session, and I can't be there all of the time. Obviously that role will be more fully explained as we move along. Basically, I attended the COVID-19 lead webinar last night with Swim Southwest, and they were at pains to point out that any return to the pool is not without risk, and we have to accept that there is going to be a degree of risk, but what we're aiming to do with the risk assessments and the processes that we put in place along with the pool operators is to minimize the risk as far as is humanly possible. Much like any trip to the supermarket is not without risk, any trip to a restaurant as it's reopened, barbers, hairdressers, they're not without risk, and we've got to accept that that is where we are at. There will be a health check questionnaire coming out, and basically it is compulsory for that health check questionnaire to be filled in, because it contains an acknowledgement that you have seen this video and that you've understood what's been said, and also that if you haven't seen the video, you've read through the written material and that you understand what we're trying to achieve and what we're hoping to gain from the return to the pool. Basically, if you do not complete the health check questionnaire for your swimmer or for yourself, there will be no access to the pool. If I don't get the completed health check questionnaire from every member, those members who do not complete it will not be allowed access to their allocated sessions until either the health check questionnaire has been completed satisfactorily or a reason has been given as to why it hasn't. Okay? Obviously the details within that will be confidential. The details will be confidential. It will only be seen by a very limited number of people. I have to sign every single one. Okay? In essence, if you're the parent of a swimmer and they are remotely unwell, you should not send them to training. Now, I know in the past we've had swimmers turning up who really, realistically weren't fit to train. Those days are gone. If your swimmer is showing any sort of symptoms, your child is showing any sort of symptoms, temperature, cough, cold, anything like that, they should not swim. Once you sign the health check questionnaire and you then send your child to the session, you're basically declaring when you send that child to the session that that child is fit to swim. If it is felt in the eyes of either the COVID liaison or the coaching staff or myself that that child was not fit to be at that session, they will be removed from the session and they will not be allowed back until the club are satisfied. And Swim England have basically said that there is no appeal. Those decisions are final. We're not messing about, and I'm not wishing to be draconian here, but it is going to be quite draconian. So do not send a swimmer to the pool if they are ill. The risk assessments are being prepared in conjunction with the pool operators. At the moment we're speaking to the pools that are going to reopen. They've been in touch with us, and I'm currently working with them to put together risk assessments, starting basically at the car park. From the car parking point, after you've travelled to the pool, to the point that your swimmer returns to the car and you leave the pool. Everything will be covered and hopefully everything will be explained. I'm hoping to do a video run through of how things will look, but obviously that also depends on the pool operators and whether we can get that done in time. If we get a video run through of each pool and what the directions are and how things are going to be done, that will obviously be published in due course. In terms of the numbers in lanes, that's still evolving. If you look at the two documents, well, the main documents on the Swim England site, there are two different sets of numbers, and I asked the question last night and I was basically told that it is an evolving document. The whole process is evolving. We're in completely new territory. We will attempt to maintain the training bubbles and have the same groups, but as was drawn out last night in the question and answer session, if your child does multiple sports, they're going to be in multiple bubbles, and whichever bubble they're in, I go back to my first point, it's not without a risk. Okay, it is not without a risk, and we've just got to try to minimize any danger of anyone coming to any harm. Okay, basically we still need to check if a child becomes ill during a session with COVID-19 type symptoms. We still need clarification of which parts of the group that are in the pool at that time, both the staff and obviously the other children in the lane, other swimmers in the remaining part of the pool, which ones will need to isolate until such time as the child that's become ill has had a test and it's either been confirmed or negated that they have COVID-19. That will then come under the situation of the test, track and trace system run by the health service. Okay, but obviously if a child becomes ill, it would be strongly recommended, obviously we can't compel it, but it would be strongly recommended that the child is tested at the earliest possible opportunity and that the details are fed into the track and trace system. Obviously then it's entirely up to yourselves whether you disclose whether the test was positive or negative, but it will be in everyone's best interest to disclose the results, and then we know what to do with the other swimmers in that group. So, as I said, when the health check questionnaire comes around, it will have an acknowledgement at the bottom that the video input has been seen and that it's been understood, and also there's an alternative once we put the written version out to indicate that you've seen that and understood it. Beyond that, my role is to deal with everything COVID-19 related, to act on behalf of the committee and to advise the committee, and to liaise, as I've said, with the pool operators to make the return to the pool as safe as possible in relation to COVID-19. Joe's already touched on the training aspects of it and how it's going to be a long process. So just going back briefly to, if your child is ill, I would much rather you did not send your child to swimming and you either waited till they weren't showing any symptoms or they isolated for the appropriate period, because it's going to be a long, slow process getting back into the pool. So missing a few more days is not going to make a huge amount of difference. Nobody will be competing probably at all in 2020, and it'll be into next year before we compete. So nobody is going to miss anything, and literally there's nothing to be gained by sending a child to the pool that is unwell. It will only jeopardize the training of the rest of the group. Thank you.